Clinical reconciliation allows you to electronically reconcile data received in continuity of care documents, or CDA, CCDs, or SureScripts medication history files. It is available for free for clients with version 5.8 or greater. Clinical reconciliation provides a tool to reconcile data that is received electronically, not manually documented. Manual reconciliation is still available for information that's not received electronically. Clinical reconciliation allows you to simultaneously and electronically view data from two list sources, create a single reconciled list of data, review and validate the accuracy of a final set of data, and upon confirmation, automatically update the list. In order to complete reconciliation, you must have rights in System Administrator to add, update, and delete information in NextGen Enterprise EHR. Clinical reconciliation can be accessed in a few ways. One way is by adding a trigger to a template. This method gives you full access to the module. You can also access it by clicking Reconcile in the EHR modules, which only accesses the clinical reconciliation information. The last way is by clicking View on the main menu bar, which gives you full access to clinical reconciliation as well. Let's take a look at this in NextGen Enterprise EHR. With the patient's chart open, click View and select Clinical Reconciliation. The module opens, and that's it. You should now know how to access clinical reconciliation. In this lesson, we'll learn how to use clinical reconciliation. We're currently looking at clinical reconciliation in NextGen Enterprise EHR. Let's take a look at some of its features. The Documents section on the left displays all CDA documents that have been electronically received, SureScripts medication history documents, as well as immunization registry. If you have multiple documents in the list, you click on the document you want to reconcile. This window can be resized by clicking and dragging any of the borders. Since we have more than one referral, click the top tab. Click this Continuity of Care document. The window defaults to the Import tab. To close the Documents section, click here. Click the Custom View tab. This tab provides a quick look at the most commonly used sections in a CDA document. Click the Full View tab. This tab enables you to view the full document. Click the Import tab. Import is where you review, add, and update the chart with the information received in the CDA and where all reconciliation is performed. The EHR grid displays the active and inactive items that are documented in NextGen Enterprise EHR. Not every tab includes this grid, but a majority of them do. The Import grid displays the items that are contained in the CDA. This grid displays an overview of the items that were imported from the CDA document. You can sort any of these items by clicking a column header. When sorting is changed, the grouping logic will no longer display. You can return to the default sort by right-clicking and clicking Apply Default Sort. Click the plus sign here. Detailed information about the selected items displays. You can scroll to view more information in the window. To close the details, click the minus sign. Click the Reconciliation History tab. This tab allows you to view the reconciliation changes that were made on the Import tab. It helps you to review and validate the accuracy of the final set of patients' data to ensure it's correct and current. To view individual line item details, click the plus sign. The source of information for the item displays. You can also audit a reconciliation event when you click Confirm, whether or not the CDA contains data for comparison. So even if no new data is available, Confirm click displays in the Action Perform column for that event. You should now have a basic understanding on how to use clinical reconciliation. In this lesson,
we'll use clinical reconciliation to reconcile medications received electronically in a continuity of care document, also known as a CCDA, for James Williford, an established patient. James was recently seen by a cardiologist, and we received an electronic CCDA. We're currently viewing clinical reconciliation from James Williford's chart. EHR medications default to a status of keep. Import medications default to a status of add if the system doesn't detect a match, and ignore if a match is detected. CCDAs and SureScripts medication histories may contain multiple instances of the same medication. For example, a SureScripts medication history may contain up to 24 months of data. This module has logic that groups identical instances of medications, and only the most recent instance is set to add. If needed, you can change the action for each individual item. Let's reconcile James's medications. James states he is no longer taking acetaminophen, so we need to stop this medication. In the EHR grid, click in the action field on the acetaminophen row. Click the drop-down arrow. The delete option is only available for medications that have been entered in error, and the medication can only be deleted if the encounter has not been locked. Medications should be stopped when they're inactive, not deleted. Click Stop. Because you selected Stop, acetaminophen is now listed in the Stop EHR Items section of the Reconciliation Summary grid. James confirms that he is still taking lisinopril 10 mg that's listed in the CCDA. Even though lisinopril is listed in the EHR grid, it's not a match because the dosage is different. The correct dosage should be added. In the Import grid, click the action field on the lisinopril row. Click the drop-down arrow. Click Replace. At the top of the Select Existing window is the Data to Match grid, and the bottom grid displays the existing EHR data for you to select from. Notice how acetaminophen is still in the existing EHR data. This is because we haven't confirmed our changes yet. Click lisinopril 5 mg tablet. The top grid now displays the correct dosage. The incorrect dosage is now displayed as the EHR data that'll be replaced. Click OK. The status of the lisinopril 5 mg tablet has been changed to Stop in the EHR grid and to Replace in the Import grid. The two medications display the match icon because they were manually matched by selecting Replace. The reconciliation summary shows a summary of the actions that'll be taken when the reconciliation is confirmed. Let's finish reconciling the medications. James confirms that he just started using amlodipine, fish oil, Lipitor, and nitrolingual, so we'll leave the status as Add. The icon in the match field next to Zetia indicates that the system has identified a match in the medications, and it has been automatically matched to Zetia 10 mg in the EHR grid. If you don't agree with a match, you can unmatch them. Let's see that. Click the Zetia row in the Import grid to select it. Click Unmatch. The match icon no longer appears next to Zetia in either the EHR grid or the Import grid. Medications can also be manually matched. Since these medications should actually be matched and Zetia is already selected in the Import grid, click Match. The Select Existing pop-up displays with Zetia 10 mg tab listed as external data in the Data to Match grid. The existing EHR data lists the medications that are in the Medications module of James's record. In the existing EHR data grid, select Zetia 10 mg tablet. Click OK. The Zetia in the EHR grid and the Zetia in the Import grid are matched again as indicated by the match icon. The Zetia in the Import grid is set to Ignore, so nothing will be changed. In the reconciliation summary, this is noted under Unchanged, so no action is performed. Last, let's document who performed the reconciliation. Click the Reconciliation Completed With drop-down arrow. The reconciliation was performed with the patient, so click Self. To save, click Confirm. Potential duplication message appeared because we replaced an existing medication with the same medication in a different dosage. To proceed, click Yes. The system confirms the changes made during reconciliation were successful. You may be alerted to any drug interactions at this time. If you need to notify a provider about the drug interaction, you can select the Alert Providers button and select the provider. Click OK. To view the changes, you'd click the Reconciliation History tab. Click Close. Let's go to the Medications module to review the changes. Click the Medication button. The changes that were made in Clinical Reconciliation display. The highlighted medication was imported from the CCDA. The system marks it as prescribed elsewhere and adds the source. To launch the Clinical Reconciliation from here, you'd click the Reconcile button. You now know how to reconcile medication information received in electronic documents.
In this lesson, you'll learn how to add medications administered to NextGen Enterprise EHR from Clinical Reconciliation. We're currently viewing the Meds Administered tab in Clinical Reconciliation from the patient's chart. EHR medications default to a status of Keep. In the EHR grid, click the action field here and click the drop-down arrow. Here you have the option to keep, resolve, or delete a medication. Since the patient is currently taking this medication, we'll leave this as is. Click Keep. The import data is driven by the name of the medication, the start date, and the stop date. If the data matches all three, the Reconciliation module defaults the action to Match. If they are different, it defaults to Add. Since this medication does not have any matches, it's set to Add. Click the action field here. Click the drop-down arrow. You can manually change this medication to ignore or replace if needed. We'll leave this as is. Click Add. The Reconciliation Summary grid shows a summary of the actions that will be taken when the reconciliation is confirmed. If you want to manually match or unmatch a medication, you'd select one of these buttons. To document who performed the reconciliation, click this drop-down arrow. The reconciliation was performed with the patient, so click Self. To save the changes, click Confirm. You may be alerted to any drug interactions at this time. Since we do not have any, a message displays stating you can view the changes on the Reconciliation History tab. Click OK. Let's go to the Medications module to review the changes. Click Close. Click the Medication button. The changes that were made in Clinical Reconciliation display here. To launch Clinical Reconciliation, you'd click here. You should now know how to reconcile administered medication information received in electronic documents.